We might be live. Let's check the sound. We might be live. We are live. We are live. We are live. What can I say? We're live. So, apparently, it's the Deep Left Jokkull Experience number 9. I didn't think such a thing was possible. I thought it was over, game over, you know. I'm lying in a ditch. You know what people told me at the beginning of this road trip? They said, we need to bring weapons. We need to bring weapons with us because people are going to try to hurt us. This was the fear. And, you know, guys, I think we have to dig deeper. I think we have to dig deeper into that. I'm gonna say this is a meeting. I'm gonna schedule a meeting right now. Meetings till 5. We're gonna schedule a meeting right now. I want to have a meeting. Let's have a meeting. Let's have a Zoom meeting, guys. When people have fear about these things, what they're doing, it's a very ancient symbolic process, right? It's a process by which you're taking something which is emotional, which is psychological, which is subterranean, and you're trying to make it explicit. You know, when you think, people are going to hurt us, you're essentially taking what is a priestly problem and you're trying to make it into a warrior problem. You're taking something that is psychical, you're trying to make it physical. And the ultimate psychical fear here, and you know, I think we're gonna hold up the mic. Tell me if the audio is better. Tell me if the audio is better or worse when I'm holding the mic up. Let's see, how does that mic look? I gotta check it out here. Anyway, we'll see how the mic looks. But the point is, you're taking something that has to do with our identity, with who we are, with rejection, with love, with betrayal, with the human heart, with the human soul. You know, we want to be embraced. We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. We want friendship, okay? And to deny these things is to deny human nature. And if you're fighting these things and you're refusing to acknowledge these things, you're anti-human, right? You're anti-human. And now an anti-human perspective may be necessary. You know, we use computers, we use animals, right? So we utilize that which is not human, that which is not empathetic. You could also call this a feminine perspective, right? But it's necessary. It is necessary that we have a feminine perspective, a loving perspective, a perspective which takes these things as they are, as a current, as a stream, as a liquidity that we can traverse through. We can travel through it. We can utilize it. We can direct it like a channel, like a canal, like a stream. We can use these waterways of human emotion to our advantage rather than fighting them, rather than rejecting them, rather than denying them. We can actually use them as a superhighway. And this is how ancient peoples traveled from Scandinavia down through Russia on the Volga River, on the Danube, right? The Mediterranean Sea, the pirates, the men who overthrew the Bronze Age civilizations, the sea peoples, right? The Chinese sailing, you know, the Malagasy people going from Indonesia to Madagascar, okay, with primitive boats thousands of years ago, colonizing Africa. They weren't European, they were colonizing Africa, and they were doing this many years ago, and they were using the water. So let's think about these things in that way, and let's really understand our fear. When we are afraid to approach and to be known and to be seen and to be understood, really what we are fearing is that we're going to be recognized for who we really are, and all the flaws and imperfections that we see within ourselves are going to be judged, like God on Judgment Day, the day of wrath. We're going to be judged by people. We're going to be cast out. And this casting out, this social casting out, is worse than death because, if you die, theoretically, you could leave behind your family. You could leave behind your cousins. You could leave behind your siblings. But if you're cast out, you actually are hurting those you leave behind. If you're cast out, you're taking people who are related to you and you're lowering their social status, and therefore you're imperiling their future. So on a genetic level, to be cast out is worse than to die, because we know Richard Dawkins' selfish gene, that these genes evolve, they're group selected, right? They're not just selected by an individual. So this is why we have this great fear of meeting people. And I want to say, to kind of have mercy and to have to have an idea of, how do I say this? To have, I'm getting distracted. People are testing. Just turn up the mic. Is the mic too quiet? Or is the holding the mic not a good look? Is that not a good thing? Do we not want to do that? Let's see how... I have to always look down to see what's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, to have mercy on people and to be a little bit understanding, what I want to say... Hey, Tom, how you doing? How you doing, Matt? How you doing, Breck? Thank you, Scum. What I want to say regarding this whole process of fear is that we should not expect, based on our evolutionary history, that we are good at talking to strangers. And in fact, strangers would have been an existential threat. When you look at packs of wolves, they're very territorial. And if a wolf sees another wolf, or even smells or sees the hair or smells the hair of another wolf that is not of its tribe, that's a stranger. That's dangerous, because then you have intertribal conflict. And so we're trying to avoid that. And so we're afraid of strangers. We're afraid of talking to strangers. If you're good at talking to strangers, it means you're actually missing a key adaptation that 99% of people have, or you've overcome that through mental plasticity. But that's difficult. That's a difficult process. You're essentially, people who are able to talk to strangers, I think, should be respected and regarded in the same way that soldiers are regarded. People who jump out of airplanes, people who engage in extreme sports. It's the same thing. You're overcoming a very instinctual fear. So we have to be merciful toward people. We have to realize that people, when they are incapable or unable or unwilling to engage in this way, when they have these fears and they make up excuses and lies about, oh, people are going to hurt us physically, they're doing this to protect themselves. They're doing this because they're, in their mind, simulating the extreme pain of, death. So we have to respect, we have to be understanding, we have to be merciful toward people, but we also have to be clear. We have to be clear and we have to be truthful about what's going on, which is that we're now in a situation where we're not just being brought up in a tribe. We're not just being plopped into existence. I watched a video. I was crying today. I was doing this laughing, crying thing. I don't know if y'all can relate to when you see something that's just so magical, so spiritual, so empowering, so magnificent, majestic, overwhelming, universal, mind-bending, mind-boggling. It was a 3D animation time-lapse. It was like an odyssey of the development of the sperm and the egg and the fetus into an infant. And I thought that was just amazing, because you're watching these sperm, they're like these super soldiers, and they're going off to war, and they're traveling through the female anatomy, through this foreign alien terrain that they've never seen before. They're plopped into existence, and they're just soldiers for life, and they're just going through this terrain, dangerous terrain. And it feels like an Isaac Asimov novel, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or there's one where he goes really small. I forget the name of the novel. But, it's like you're the sperm, like on some level, there's like this parallel soul connection between me and the sperm. It's like I am the sperm. I'm in here. I'm in the foreign land. I'm on an alien planet, and I'm looking for the egg. And, then it reaches the egg, and there can only be one, unless you have twins or whatever. But usually there's only one sperm that survives and lives and impregnates the egg. And sometimes even not that. I mean, sometimes it takes 200 times, especially with not just sperm count, sperm motility, sperm health today is declining. So it's even harder than it used to be. But in any case, and that's for, the fact that the egg is very protective means that, it's the Olympics. This is the Olympics happening on a daily basis between human beings, is that in this creation of new life, the female is very protective. It's very interesting. It reminds me of Camille Paglia's biosociological model of gender, where she says that because of the woman's ability to become pregnant, she has an internality and inward lookingness that a man can't achieve. This is a fundamental, biological fact that entirely changes a woman's worldview. This is coming from Paglia, who I don't even know has had biological children. I believe she has a son, but I'm not sure if that was through adoption or however method. But in any case, when she was writing that, she was certainly not a mother yet. But she recognized that fact in a contradiction against herself. And I thought that was very interesting. And I think it's very interesting the way in which the female egg is very protective. The female egg does not want to be easily accessed. It wants only the strongest sperm to break down the barriers, break down the walls, and force its way in. And then, the new life is created. So I thought that was very interesting, very powerful. A very powerful sort of symbol. And also just watching, the child develop, you see the different, we start off looking like a spaceship, and then from that spaceship form, then a spinal column emerges, and then we're like this alien life form. And that's another interesting thing, is the whole mythology around aliens and whatever. It's like, we're the aliens. Have you seen a fetus recently? We are the aliens, okay? We are, when you watch that fetus develop, and this is what, abortion activists will say. They'll say, look at this fetus. It looks inhuman. It looks, this is not a human being. This is not a living thing. This has no right to life. And it's like, what if we're aliens? So what if we're aliens and this is our origin? You're seeing the baby develop, and its mind is becoming activated, and it's moving. I mean, really, I remember seeing these sort of images, the Star Child imagery from, I believe, 2001 Space Odyssey, and I think it was reused in other space films as well, horror space films. The myth of the Star Child, I think, gets to something. I mean, these are connected. Like, alien space exploration is something that happens during the process of procreation. And we are the aliens, right? So all this mythology, it's kind of externalizing something that's internal. I just found it fascinating and beautiful and amazing that everyone who's living today has gone through this process of breaking through those barriers and then finally succeed. And we are all Olympians in our own way. And it's not to say we're all the same, right? We're all different. But we're all Olympians in that way, and we're all aliens in that way, and we're explorers and we're conquerors. And that's amazing. That's amazing, the parallels of our creation, of our conception, how significant that is. So to dial this back a little bit, to kind of bring it back to where I was at, we were talking about fear. We were talking about the fear of meeting people and just being sort of plopped into a foreign land, an alien land. And the truth is that most people would be completely, in a womb social situation. What I mean by the womb is it's a protective shell that people are just born into. And not too long ago, you would be growing up in a neighborhood, in an area, in a religion, in a church community where everything's taken care of. No one's deciding what the morals, the morality, the metaphysics, any of that is. There's experts everywhere. You talk to your teacher, you go to the librarian. I mean, there's pretty much an answer for every fundamental question. And those things which are not understood, in order to understand them, you go through a proper channel. There's a proper process. There's a concept of ancestry. There's a concept of lineage and heritage that, okay, well, to understand gravity, we go to Isaac Newton. And we still have this to an extent with the scientific method, which is why I would argue that scientism is the strongest religion alive, is because it does have this concept of a lineage. But we can look at different points in times where people had this mythology drawn out for them that allowed them to trust people and understand people. And I think that's the biggest problem we face today, is the fact that our political theology, that politics has been made into religion, and it's so divisive. We've never had a more religiously divisive time in our history. We've always been, until secularization, we've always been a majority Protestant country or a majority Christian country. And so a lot of questions were settled, and now they're unsettled in a very unsettling way. And people are disturbed by this, and this causes psychic violence. And so people externalize this. You hear women all the time. Now we have all this online dating, and you hear women all the time talk about being kidnapped, right? Being kidnapped by scary men. And, look, I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it's like to be in that situation. But I do believe that fundamentally, again, it is the representation of psychological violence as physical violence. It's, I'm afraid of being rejected, I'm afraid of having a bad time, I'm afraid of being judged, whatever. I'm afraid of risking something emotionally, I'm afraid of falling in love and then being ghosted, right? So women have all of these fears, which I think are justified, right? I don't think we should blame them for having these fears. But they maybe misapprehend, misunderstand, and miscommunicate purposefully, because we don't want to be honest about these things. We don't want to be honest about the fact that we're living on an animal planet and we're trying to get to the egg, and we don't know where it is because we're blind and we don't have eyes, and we're just swimming around with millions of other people, billions of people on this planet, and we're desperately trying to get to that egg, that elite status, that 1% of 1% who have it figured out, who have the financial means to buy the nuclear silo in New Zealand, right? The billionaire class is moving to New Zealand. They're building nuclear silos, nuclear protection tunnels and whatnot. And we're all trying to get there in one way or another. And it is, if you think about the sperm who are swimming, if they all had the idea of like, well, I'm 1 in a million or a trillion, whatever the number may be, I have a 1 in a billion chance of succeeding, I'm probably not going to succeed, so why bother trying? If they all had that mentality, now of course, they don't have the consciousness to be that self-reflective, but if they could, I'm sure they would swim slower, right? You cannot give anything 100% if you don't fully believe and convince that every sacrifice you're making is worth it. Psychologically, happiness is a reward we give ourselves for doing good things. Right? Now, this can be perverted through the contradiction of, environments which were ancestral versus contemporary environments which deviate from that instinctual ancestral environment. But fundamentally, that is what happiness, that is what pleasure is about. It is about moving toward the good. And if you feel like you're moving toward the good and you're happy, that becomes addictive, and then you just want to keep pressing forward. And this is how we do amazing things. We connect a feeling of happiness with what is good. Now, when we're constantly doubting and wondering and being disappointed, when is it going to come? When are we going to finally get there? Then this only slows us down. This only makes us weaker and less effectual. So the goal here is to figure out, how do we pair our happiness with what's good for us, and also how do we become convinced of things epistemologically, right? That it's hard to develop certainty about a plan, about a project, that we can't know if it's a good idea or not. We can't know for certain. I mean, we know so many times in our lives we've been wrong about this or that, we've changed our opinion. So how can we achieve that level of conviction? How can we achieve that level of faith? Because faith is not really about, again, epistemological belief in a thing that is certain for a justifiable purpose. Like if I have faith that I'm going to start a business and my business is going to succeed, then I can't prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's going to succeed. But I'd have to have faith. I have to have faith in that business if I want to be able to put 100% in. Now, if you want to weigh up all of your options very carefully, then you're going to maybe have a more balanced approach, and maybe over the long haul, that sort of investment strategy is going to work out better if you put a little bit in here, a little bit there, you put one egg in every different basket, then that might be more successful in the long run. But if we specialize, if we are working on one particular thing, then it does kind of have to be all or nothing. And in terms of your time and how you spend it and your energy and your effort and your limited resources, there might need to be a compromise or a syncretism of the two perspectives that, you can try different things, but when you're doing something, you commit yourself to it fully. That's kind of how I've been traveling around. That's how I've been doing things. Let's see what I can see. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Okay. Looking dapper, thank you, Bongo. From 19th century accounts of urban life scenes and novels, it would seem there's a great eagerness to talk to strangers in the past. Well, I think that's true, especially from novels. The talking to a stranger is implicit warfare, it's implicit conquest, it's adventure, it's surprise, it's eros, it's thanatos. It's exciting, and this is why it's the subject of novels, because normal people didn't necessarily do it all the time. You could also say that in less cosmopolitan societies, prior to industrialization or prior to telegrams and radios and or telegraphs and radios, and I'm getting mixed up now with the app. I don't know what the term is anymore. TV, internet, telephone. Before all that, you could say there was more localism, there was more social trust, and so it's a lot easier to approach a stranger in a group. And if you feel like you're part of a group, a church community, if you feel like you're part of a society, if you don't feel alienated, I think it is easier to talk with a stranger because you don't have such a fear of being rejected. If you're completely isolated and alone, very hard to talk to strangers. And I think a lot of people, young people, are in that situation where they're so isolated, they're doing this remote school thing, and they don't know how to talk to strangers at all. They don't know how to make eye contact. It's very sad. And that's why I think young people have this adoration for social media people who can talk to a camera, people who can do cold approaches on the street, because those people are the opposite of, those are the two polar opposites of our generation. Is there's the young people who can't socialize, and then there are these hyper-social, 24/7 live streamer sort of thing. And so there's an attraction of opposites there. But obviously, this is a social divergence that if we did not have so much social anxiety in our lives, then these, live streamers, Twitch live streamers playing video games would not be as appealing to us, because we could simply go outside and talk to people and have friends. So these are directly feeding off each other. Let's see. The video Townsend by Gyonje has similar ideas to what's being talked about. Restaurants used to have communal dining, family style, and social parties would spontaneously emerge. People wouldn't go to sit alone in the corner. They would sit with whoever was there. I know a guy who's trying to bring back family style. I was going to put out a, what I used to call a bat signal for Frank Hassel. I did DM him. He did respond. And I was like, let's meet up, and then the conversation went cold. So I don't know what happened with that, but I'd love to go family style with Frank, because I think he plays in exactly to the dynamic I'm talking about. There's no one better than Frank to explicate that. Let's see. Forced myself to go to the Mexican horse races. Despite the fact I have no Spanish, didn't know anyone. Very timely broadcast. Yeah, I've seen in my travels and journeys when I was in California, I'm in a very fancy neighborhood. I'm going to a dinner party, and I'm looking at these Mexicans in the park playing Mexican music, wearing sombreros. I mean, it was just very stereotypical, and they're playing some game with dice. They're throwing dice on like a little, foldable table they've set up. They're throwing dice. They've got enchiladas. They're playing Mexican music out of the stereo. It was interesting. They all seem to be older men. They all seem to be past their 40s, maybe 60s, and they were out in the park doing this on a nice day. And I thought to myself, I have no entry into that whatsoever. I could learn Spanish and I could try to talk to these people, but there's just so much. There's an intergenerational gap. There's a cultural gap, linguistic gap. I don't know the rules of the game. It's so foreign to me. It's so different from me. It wasn't hostile. I wasn't upset by it. I wasn't depressed by it. And in fact, I do like that. I like having spaces because I like to see people who are succeeding to have a sense of cohesion. I like to see that. I think we should have more of that. I think we should bring over European immigrants who can create European linguistical spaces in our country again. I want to be able to drive across the country because if you drive to Miami, you see Spanish language signs. I want to be able to drive to, Nebraska and see German language, or Pennsylvania. I want to be able to drive to, New Jersey and see Italian. I want to be able to drive to different parts. I don't know where the French are going to go, but I'd like to have at least, a town, if not a state. I'd like to have a town in America for each of these European language where we just bring in a massive, the government could do it. We could just take every European immigrant, we get thousands every year. So take every European immigrant or offer visas and say you have to live in this town and you have to speak your language. We could very easily develop it tomorrow. I think it would be amazing. I think it would be an amazing just go to Quebec. Yeah, well, the Canadians won't let me in. So there's your problem. Take that up with Justin Trudeau. Maybe we need to import the Quebecois into America. I think there are some, maybe in sort of northern Vermont, northern Maine. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. I did want to, maybe before we end today's little short broadcast, it's not going to be a 3-hour one. But before we end today's broadcast, I did want to bring up a post I just made on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, it's at Jokkull, Jokkull. And you can follow me and you can mention me and you can get in contact with me very easily. And I'll talk a little bit about that more. But the Twitter post I wanted to mention was having to do with the Mapmaker project. If you haven't seen that video, we are making a map app where you can put in any data you want, any data set. We're going to have preloaded data sets and you can create regions. And so what I did today with that, and it's still a work in progress, we need help. We'd like money. I'd like to be paying people for their efforts. I'd like to have more people working on it. But we eventually want to have people to be able to use it. I'm not interested in making money off of it, but if the people who worked on it can be reimbursed, that would be great as a proof of concept to engender future projects, because I really like this stuff. This map project, what I did with it today, and you can see on Twitter, is I highlighted all the coastal counties, all the waterfront counties in America. These are counties which have waterfront Either, I didn't count lakes or rivers, but any sort of coastal region, whether it's the Great Lakes or East Coast, West Coast. I highlighted all these, and about 110 million people live in these coastal counties, which is pretty amazing if you look at the map. It's a small, area of the country, but massive amount of people live there. Now, whether or not you believe in global warming or sea levels rising, whatever you think about that, you have to recognize that having all of these people live on the coast is unnecessary and it's harmful, right? Now, it makes sense why people want to be close to the coast. The coast is lovely, the coast is wonderful, right? But if we want to keep the coast lovely, we want to keep the coast wonderful for its natural beauty, then we need to preserve it. There are other reasons why people live on the coast. I'm aware of all of the socioeconomic reasons why in the past you had ships and ports, and so it's a good idea to live in the coast for economic reasons. That's not so necessary anymore with automobiles, with pipelines, with different methods of transportation, airplanes. We don't need ships as much. They're not as important as they used to be. They're still important, right? But I highlighted all these coastal counties and I said, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. And the method I would use to get people out of here is total communism. So what I would do, it's just a thought experiment for today. I would do complete eminent domain, and the way that I would do it is progressive. Moving 110 million people is hard. Just ask Stalin. It's a hard thing to do. We don't want to do it tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an exponential curve of incentives. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start in each of these counties. We're going to, seeing some funny comments here. We're going to introduce a property tax that for every square foot, and I haven't quite decided if we want to make it square foot of the entire property or just the dwellings, just the buildings, but we're going to have a property tax per square foot, and it's going to start out low. And maybe you have two property taxes. Maybe you say it's going to be a penny per square foot of land, and then it's going to be $1 per square foot of dwellings. Because one of the things I don't want to happen is I actually don't like farmland. I do not like farmland because the ultimate goal here is we want to turn these coastal regions into a giant national park. We want the entire East Coast, all the way from the Gulf in Texas through Louisiana and Alabama and Georgia and Florida, up through the Carolinas and Virginia and DC and New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, right? And the Great Lakes as well, and Michigan, and Chicago, and I already said New York, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and all of these states, Minnesota. We want to make this all into a giant national park, and we're going to reforest it. It's going to be a giant reforestation project. I don't want to see farms here. I don't want people, there's plenty of farmland in the country. I don't want to see people farming on the coast. Okay, this is not an agricultural zone. This is a zone for trees. This is a zone for forest. We're bringing the forest back. And so you can go visit, just as you can visit any national park. But if you want to own property, private property, we're going to start off with a tax. And first, it's $1 per square foot. In 2022, we'll start it next year. And then it's $10 per square foot. And so at first you're like, well, the average square footage of a house is 2,000 square feet. So you're saying I got to pay an extra $2,000 a year. Well, for a middle class person, it's another tax, but whatever, I can handle it. Then it jumps up to $20,000 and you're like, okay, maybe it's time to put the house on the market. And you say, well, who's going to buy the house? Well, the government will buy it through eminent domain processes. This will be a massive stimulus. And it's going to change the real estate market. It's going to have a huge economic impact. We're going to be constructing new homes in the interior of the country. it's going to be quite a dramatic. I mean, this is my Green New Deal. Okay, you want to know my Green New? This is the Green New Deal. None of the no pronouns, no social justice, no whatever. This is the Green New Deal. So it jumps from 2,000 to 20,000, and then in 2024, now it's 200,000. Now the only way you're going to live here is if you're rich. And then finally in 2025, it's going to jump up to like $2 million. And so really the billionaire class will be able to own small like beach houses. But besides those people, no one's going to be living out there. And we're going to turn it into a national park. And you can visit. And by the way, if you look at these counties, you can drive for half an hour to an hour. And you can drive out into these counties. You can drive to the coast. You can go to the beach. I'm not prohibiting people from going to the beach. And we can have campgrounds. We can have RV parks. We can have tents. You know, so if you want to spend a while at the beach, if you want to be a homeless dude and live on the beach, you go for it. We're just not going to be building industrial plants. We're going to flatten New York City. Eminent domain style, the government's going to buy up all the property in New York City after 5 years. We're going to demolish everything, and we're going to turn it into a forest, and we're going to clean it up, and it's going to be beautiful and pristine. And all those New Yorkers are going to have to move internally. Now, you're asking where they're going to go. Well, they can just go to the next county over. But they could also go to Nevada. We're going to be building a lot of apartment complexes in Nevada. We're going to be building millions of houses in the middle of Nevada. You know, I've been looking at real estate recently, and you can buy a home in Nevada for $40,000. You want to buy that anywhere else in the country? Good luck for less than $150,000. Really, I mean, for less than $200,000, good luck anywhere in any of these coastal zones. It's totally overpriced real estate. It's nonsense, because this is where all the business and industry is, and people feel the need to live there, and we're destroying the natural beauty. And there's so much pollution and water pollution and cars and roads, and we need to demolish all these roads. Okay, I-95, the whole nonsense, it needs to be laid to waste. Okay, and we are going to cover the streets with dirt, and we're going to plant trees there. And those roots are going to rip up that concrete in 100 years. You won't even know anybody lived there. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to have temples, shrines. We're going to have marble temples. We're going to have Greek-style temples, people. We're going to be worshiping, and we're going to be traveling. We're going to be going on pilgrimages up and down the coast. We're going to be visiting temples. We're going to be doing rituals in these temples. So it's going to be beautiful, and we're going to destroy the traffic corridor, this terrible, poorly planned traffic corridor that stretches from Richmond up through Boston, essentially. Well, I mean, maybe Richmond to like Connecticut, depending on who you ask. But we're going to destroy the whole thing. And all those 110 million people, 99% of them are going to move out. You're going to get a small number of billionaires who live on the coast, and they're going to be having a great time. You know what? They've earned it, folks. They buy private islands. They would do it anyway. You can't prevent these people from living there. But most people, we don't need the masses of people. They're throwing trash. Have you been to New York City? Have you been to Washington, D.C.? And now there's a nice side and there's a bad side to every city. But have you been to Chicago? Have you been to Detroit? We need to eviscerate these cities. Totally rip them up and move everybody internally and make beautiful, natural, green, forested living spaces for animals, for tourists, for homeless people. You just can't build industry. I don't want to see power plants. I don't want to see nuclear, 5 Mile Island. I don't want to see nuclear power plants. I don't want to see any of that nonsense. Maybe you could make a thorium reactor. Maybe you could convince me with enough. If you really come at me strongly, maybe you make an argument. But what I'm trying to say here is that this is the way things are going to be. We're going to have total communism, and we're going to remake America. We're going to make America green again, okay? That's my idea. That's what I've been thinking about. Let's see what people think about this. Let's see Okay, best idea ever. People are saying you're very smart, you're a genius. No one's ever thought of this before. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Geez. Francis G. Johnson. Okay. You can see Finnish language signs in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Nobody really speaks. It's a LARP. Yeah, we need to pay Finnish people to make Michigan Finnish again. About to lose reception. Preach it. Everyone should go to an underground cockfight. Yeah, we'll have an exception on the coast for cockfights. We get the best weather in our coast counties, don't we, folks? Relocation from rural and coastal areas is part of Agenda 2030. Okay, is that because they're listening? They're watching my channel? They're like, write this down. These are really good ideas. But what argument do you have against it? You really want to pollute with filth, with nonsense, with traffic, with noise, these coastal counties? These people should not be here. These people, frankly, they don't belong here. They don't deserve to be here. In all of these coasts, I've been up and down all the coast. I mean, this is where all the people live, guys. I traveled around the country, visited all the people. This is where people live. And no one should be there. And the capitalists aren't going to change it. We're going to need communism. We're going to go full Pol Pot. We're going to go full Pol Pot. Do you mean industrial farmland? Yeah, no industrial farmland. Maybe if there's a shrine, you can have a garden next to the shrine. That's okay. I can't. I'm not going to encourage that we put dynamite along the fault lines and blow those states into the ocean as islands. Okay, here's the second thing. We're going to be building we're going to bring over Dutch people through carrot or stick. We're either going to pay them to come or we're going to force them to come. We're going to bully the Dutch government to sending their best engineers. We're going to build dikes. We're going to build offshore islands. Here's the thing, folks. An aircraft carrier. What if we took a bunch of aircraft carriers and strung them together and make an island out of them, right? I mean, are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you hearing what I'm saying here? BlackRock will buy it back for 25 to 50% over the ask. Are you talking about BlackRock is into real estate? I don't know about that. Where are all the Godward people? Cryptocurrency with GPS tracking that gains value the farther you are from the ocean. That is funny. Would you let people keep small farms that are built into the landscape? I mean, we can be granting exceptions, aesthetic exceptions, historical. I mean, we'll preserve. Listen, the government's going to buy all of it. And if they judge that you get to live on the property as a steward of the property, that's one thing. But you can't just own the property and do whatever you want. You can't pave it and put a mall in a parking lot. You can't do that. We're not doing that anymore under total communism. Cryptocurrency, we read that. Inland has more extreme temperatures. It'll take more energy to heat, cool homes. No, you just build underground, bro. Simple. You build underground, and it's easy. It's easy to do. But that is true. That is true. It is more extreme. It will take slightly more energy. It will cost $1,000 more a year to heat/cool your home. Maybe just get a little bit sweaty. Maybe just drink more water. Maybe just, I don't know. I don't know what you do. But in most places, I mean, people already live in these places. It's not like we'd have to calculate it. But I think fundamentally, when you do the math, I think I come out on top. I like living on the coast. I know you like living on the coast, Isak, Illuminous. You like living there, but you can visit and you can live close enough that you can go and visit and you can camp and you can do all kinds of things. Here's the thing. People say, well, I love the coast. You can't take the coast away from me. And what I'm saying is that the coast is being taken from you not via proximity, because you can live on the coast, The coast is being taken because it's being polluted and destroyed through overpopulation. And so we need to depopulate the coast so that you can truly, then you'll really enjoy the coast when it's completely depopulated. Then you're really going to enjoy the coast. But, if you're a coastal lover, you'll find one of these secondary counties, not a coastal county, but a secondary county that's the next county over. You'll live there, and you'll be, 30 minutes to an hour from the coast. And, you will be able to, you'll listen to this. You'll listen to the Deep Left Jokkull Experience while you're driving, and then you'll go and enjoy the coast every day. But you're not going to live there. You're not going to have industrial plants there. You're not going to have pavement. You're not going to have skyscrapers. Skyscrapers belong in Nevada. We're going to build skyscrapers in the Nevada desert. Turning nature into a theme park is gross. Yeah, I never said theme park, actually. People take care of nature better when they own it and have responsibility. That is completely false, you capitalist shill. That is absolutely not. What a perverted twist of my beautiful idea. Turning nature into a theme park. It's called a national park. Maybe you should go. Maybe you should go to a national park. Enjoy the beauty of our nation's national park system started by Teddy Roosevelt, one of our greatest presidents. Okay. People take care of nature when they own it. Yeah. Who owns all the land in America? You think, quote unquote, who are these people? Who are these people? Most of these people are like in coastal regions like New York City. It is these landlords, these greedy landlords, and their unfortunate tenants. They're unfortunate tenants. And these people, they own the land. They're not turning New York City into a green zone. What are you talking about? Oh, people take care of everything. Don't you know that people take care of things? People don't take care of things when they own things. Sorry, capitalism doesn't work. Failed system, next, moving on. Who is we? It's me and my army. That's who we are. Needs aesthetics. We do need aesthetics, Visco. When is we? We are now. We are here. We are now. What other questions do you have? Glad to hear we're being realistic. Finally, yes. Finally, we're coming down to earth. We're providing realistic, pragmatic solutions to everyday problems. That's what this is about. Underground tiered cities. Thank you, Dino, for that idea. Yeah, we'll have underground tiered cities. Where will the water come from in Nevada if you move New York City there? Well, people already asked the people in Nevada. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out some kind of rain collection. Just like we have oil pipelines, we'll have water pipelines. We'll figure it out. We'll see. Maybe not Nevada. Maybe a rainier part of the country. There's rainy, like the South. The South is pretty rainy. We'll find when people work on my map project, if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you want to mention me, help me out with this map project so we can figure out where's the best place to move these New York City people. We want to get them the water. They need clean drinking water. But we're probably just going to have less people, folks. We're probably just going to have less people in the end. Making drastic decisions like pricing everyone out of their property without context is silly. This is not silly. This is happening next year. You're laughing now. You think it's silly. Listen, we are in a climate crisis. I don't have time for this is drastic. Yeah, reality is drastic. Life is drastic. Time to make decisions because no one else is making decisions. It's time to make some decisions. Yeah, tear down their Asherah poles. Could be taken two ways. I don't know if you're referring to my temples or you're referring to the skyscrapers or what you're referring to. The virgin trees versus the Chad concrete. You have it backwards, Marcus. Not all land is suited for forestry. Uneducated afforestation is actually more harmful than helpful. JC, you don't think I have an army of foresters? I have a bunch of freaky foresters who are wearing lederhosen. We're going to import foresters from the Black Forest of Germany, from Russia. We're going to have experts who are afforesting, inforesting, uberforesting. We're going to overforest. We're going to forest perfectly, the perfect amount of forest. We're going to get the forest back. Yeah, not all land is suited for forestry. That's fine. But we're going to have the correct native vegetation for every county. It's going to be beautiful. There's going to be flowers. There's going to be trees. There's going to be shrubbery. There's going to be vines. I mean, everything you can think of. It's not just trees, but where we can grow trees. I love trees. You know me, I'm a tree lover. If there's something I love in this world, it's going to be trees. Temples, yes. Elon will solve traffic just like Kenneth will solve land disputes. Yeah, there's epic handshake with Elon Musk, billionaire capitalist, and then I'm here, I'm the communist, and we're coming together. We're coming together, we're solving everything. But honestly, Elon's solution, Elon is putting a Band-Aid on a problem. The fact is that LA has traffic problems because it's this built-up, overpopulated thing that, is not planned correctly. And so it's time to start fresh, blank slate, tabula rasa. We're starting over, moving out of LA, we're starting new. And I think it's going to be great. But, you can have underground traffic tunnels. That's fine. I'm not against that. But I think that I don't think we quite need that. Trees are boring and overhyped and need to be sacrificed for a greater cause. You're losing your mod status. Nobody disrespects trees. Visco, you do not. I know you're not from the land of trees, but you can't disrespect. Trees are sacred. They're not boring. Do you know how many miles I've hiked on this trip through forests? At least 20 miles. At least 20 miles on this trip. You know how many hours that took me? Probably 20 hours. Probably 20 hours because I'm going up and down hills. I'm climbing over trees. Yeah, I spent a lot of time around the trees, and it was sacred, and it was good, and it was beautiful. And in fact, trees are exciting, and they're underhyped, and we need to save the Amazon rainforest as well while we're at it, because it's providing climatological benefits to North America that I don't even have time to go into. We're not sacrificing the trees. In fact, what's going to happen is we're going to start sacrificing the anti-tree people. These anti-tree, these tree denialists, people who don't see the glory of trees, we're going to sacrifice them. We're going to sacrifice them for the greater cause, Visco. So you better you have 5 years to change your mind on that. I'd suggest you start today. Go outside and hug a tree, okay? Go outside and hug a tree today. You know what? I'm going to go further. Kiss a tree. Put your lips on the bark. You don't have to eat it. You don't have to eat the bark. I'm not saying you can't eat the bark, but, go kiss a tree. Let's see. We should advocate for living on the moon. No, we're not living on the moon. That's not realistic. Hey, we're keeping grounded. We're keeping realistic, okay? Let's see. 14 likes. 14 people like the idea. He should just, let's see. Virgin nature versus Chad humanity. We are nature, Marcus. Listen, Marcus, we are animals. So it's a false distinction, false paradigm. We need a holistic solution that recognizes we're all part of the ecosystem here. Elderly and the disabled. Yeah, we will make allowances for the elderly and disabled. We're not kicking grandma out of her coastal house, but she's not going to pass it on to her children, is what I'm saying. Urban cities are the epicenter of progressive populations. If we just if we just remove all New Yorkers and plant one tree per person in their memory. Okay, that's a cool thing. This is better than Trumptonshire. I don't know what Trumptonshire is. I probably don't want to know. I mean, this is a better... Why even bother mentioning another idea? If I've come up with the best idea possible. And by the way, people, I've got more ideas. The ideas aren't running out. I just have to read through these comments. Prefer trees to animals... They're both good. Cities have positive externalities. That's interesting. What about heritage and passing down land to your kin? How can you say communism? Yeah, you know what? People who live in New York City don't have heritage, and they're not passing anything down to anybody. They live as tenants in apartment buildings with greedy landlords, and none of this imaginary stuff is happening. Now you say, oh, well, in other coastal counties, it's not true. Okay. Well, you know what? We can review that on a case-by-case basis, but listen, this is how negotiation happens. You start out with a drastic proposal, and then it goes to the Senate floor, and then there's modifications, We're going to have modifications, right? We're not going to just... Obviously, I understand that when I come to power and I'm enacting all these things, some people aren't going to want to listen, and we're going to have to make compromise. So we'll say, okay, well, we're going to leave these counties alone. These counties get an exception. We're going to focus. New York has to be destroyed. Detroit has to be destroyed. Chicago has to be destroyed. These cities have to be destroyed. I'm sorry. They've got to be destroyed for the good of the planet because of global warming. It's got to happen. And if you don't agree, you are a reactionary. We need to turn Earth into Mars. I'm going to disagree. This is hilarious. The national park sounds like something from Petty Linkula, the premier Finnish hunter-gatherer philosopher. Well, I don't know much about Petty Linkula, so I don't know if he would agree or disagree, but this is my idea. Finland isn't real. Finland equals goofy. To an extent, the only real country at this point is like America. Let's see. Every population he uses for these ridiculous examples is European. Man, I will not have people calling me racist in the chat. You're going into timeout. Taking down the cities to own the libs. Why not bring permaculture Bantu populations to help us out? That's possible. Building underground is expensive. Wow, I just realized how many comments Marcus was leaving. He's like leaving half of the comments here. So now I will not read them. Let's see. Communism is force. Christian charity is God-filled people. Yeah, the world is ruled by force, dude. Why don't you give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's? We're going to have force. We are going to use the government. We're going to force people. Conservatives can leave. Libertarians can leave. You know what? You can love it or leave it. If you don't love it, go somewhere else. Go to... I don't know. Go to anarcho-capitalist land. Go back to 2012. Okay, go back to the Ron Paul campaign. Is this your version of 2070 paradigm shift? No, this is what I want to see happen. This is not a joke. Invite me on. I'll join and eat a sauteed onion. Well, Godward, I'll call you right now, Godward. I'll call you right now. You can come on right now, Godward. Where is he? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? I'm calling him. Wow, that just got loud. Let's see if he picks up. It's not depopulation, it's just diversification of local fauna. Seems like there's always a need for ports. We're still gonna have ports. Alright, is Godward on? Alright, Godward, can we figure this out? How do we do this? All right. I'm going to put you on. I'm going to turn off. I'm going to put you on. All right, you're on the air. We're doing a call-in show. You're on the air.
And I have a question about food distribution.
You've got a question about food distribution. Ask your question.
What are we gonna do with all the McDonald's? Do they McDonald's or
the McDonald's?
Do they become housing shelters?
McDonald's become housing shelters? Well, now you're getting to another ideas, which we're gonna ban fast food. So all those McDonald's are gonna have to be converted into housing, probably.
And meat, are we banning it for the good of
No. We're not banning meat. We're actually banning farming. Now you're really getting far ahead. We're banning farming, and we're turning all farmland into pastoral grazing for buffalo. We're bringing back the buffalo. And we're going to have a carnivore diet, buffalo only.
And eggs, chicken eggs. Just lots of buffaloes and chickens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not wiping out any. People can eat whatever kind of animals they want, but we're not doing these mass Monsanto agricultural farms. We're not having corn. We need to ban corn until we figure out what the heck is going on with corn here.
And are we keeping internet or?
The internet will be for college students only.
I have
So,
a recommendation about that. I think we should keep the text-based internet and video and visual.
so ban my podcast. All right. Okay, I'm feeling it. I'm thinking about it. I'll consider it. We'll put it on it. I mean,
Well, just make it audio. We can do audio. Preserve audio.
okay. Yeah, no more video.
Hey, I'm in the middle of sauteing an onion. I appreciate you having me on. I didn't expect you to get to my comments so quickly.
Yeah, I'm really trying to buzz through this. I've got to end the stream. I've got to end the stream in 10 minutes, but it was good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, we just had a guest caller, and let's see. I'm going to have to buzz through the comments to see how the audio was. There's probably a better way to do that. I could have done Telegram a different way. I chose to do it an old-fashioned way. We could do it a new-fashioned way next time. Paying fees for things God gave to all right. Okay, that's incoherent. $50 camping fee to play in nature. No, you don't have to pay any fee to go into nature. This is ridiculous. Are you suggesting that coastal regions are the only nature in the country? This is bizarre. Life is not free. Government mandated tree land. Nuke the whales. I'm not going to nuke the whales. Monsieur. Best part of America is Northwest nature-wise, but I've never been in America. Well, I'm going to disagree with you, man, and I've been everywhere. I haven't been everywhere. I haven't been to North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin. I drove through Idaho. I drove through Wyoming. Haven't been to Montana. Been pretty much everywhere else. Haven't been to Alaska. Like to go to Alaska. Everyone is here. I wish I wasn't at work. Sorry, man. You can watch the replay. Uber Baumanmänner. Uber Baumanmänner. Jokkull Forest will be swarming with homeless people economically displaced for the great... All right. Jokkull Forest will be swarming with homeless people economically displaced by the Great Leaders City Liquidation Project. No, we're going to have plenty of housing. Like I said, every fast food restaurant in this country is going to be turned into a homeless shelter. So there's going to be no problem with housing. It'll be okay because they'll awaken their latent ancestral animism and a new class of druids will emerge. Oh, that cracks me up. Okay. Where do I go from here? I didn't expect this idea to take off. This is beautiful. We need a We Are the World style group song by diverse pop stars resettling the global economy. Godward is a wuss for not wanting to eat the onion the proper way. Yeah. I used to be a tree guy. No one's perfect. Used to be a tree guy. I've walked 20 miles in one day through forests. That's what led to my dislike for trees. Bro, that's perverse. You can never get sick of trees. I don't know what you're talking about. Hug tree, anarcho-primitive experience. No, this is not anarcho, and it's not primitive. It is the communist, naturally, it's a communist environmentalist podcast. It's a deep left podcast, okay? Ken is the next Lorax. He speaks for the trees. That's very true. We don't have time to be explaining things anymore. All this cardio is turning Kenneth into a commie. Oh, I've been a commie for quite a while now. I'm just expressing ideas I came up with as a child. These are all ideas I had as a child. I've believed for a very long time. Anti-arborites. Yeah, these anti-arborites. We need to do something. Godward needs to eat an onion live while discussing Chinese philosophy. Is this sour grapes from not being able to talk to strangers? I like trees better anyway. Oh, man. Women and minorities are particularly encouraged to apply. Start posting Video content, Trumptonshire is like milkman localism. I have no clue what that is. Trumptonshire is a reference to academic agent, positive vision for the right. Yeah, I don't know what any of that is. Sounds like a LARP. My ideas are real. Everything else is a LARP. New Yorkers pass down their rent control department to their child. Oh man, yeah, New York's a terrible place to raise children. By and large, there's some neighborhoods, there's some suburbs. I have a video idea I started recording the other night, got depressed and self-conscious. Forget global warming, cities should be destroyed for being cringe. Shout out to those who knew me from the old channel. The self-consciousness is wisdom. You got to push past that. I've been hanging out with Kaczynski. Now, see, Kaczynski argues for the abolition of all technology. I'm actually arguing for the development of new technologies via the reconstruction of cities. We're still going to have cities. They're just going to be inland. What's your solution to the stranger problem? Well, that comes later. It's very easy. I'm going to... Let's take a look at the stranger problem. We're just going to reestablish religion in this country. The whole temples, we're going to reestablish religion. We're going to reestablish common cores of beliefs. We are going to reestablish beautiful, and who's going to stay in the coastal regions? It's going to be the youth. We're going to have youth camps. We're going to have youth academies. We're going to have youth team building, and they're going to be enjoying the coast. The youth belong on the coast, and that's how we do it. We are going to take groups of young people, and we're going to raise them together, and we're going to forge bonds between young people through a national system of something way better than the Boy Scouts, something like the Boy Scouts, but it's going to have mythical, ritualistic, musical, athletic, academic. It's going to be amazing. So when you see that, that's going to be amazing. That's going to solve the stranger problem. See if I can get it to something. We're not going to do that. Fast food will be encouraged into slow food to encourage conscientiousness with respect to base desires. Actually, that is true. That is the Italian way. Permacultures. I think we should stream together, have a good back and forth. I'll have you on Connor. We need right to roam here. We can roam. You can roam. It's like they say, roam if you want to. Who is your core audience, Jokkull? You are my core audience. I've been everywhere. It all sucks. That's not true. Anywhere can be good with the right people, even the worst of places. Even Mount Doom. I'd rather be nowhere else than by Frodo's side of Mount Doom. Let's see. Ken's core audience is a decentralized radical friendship extremist matrix. That's gibberish. Cure yourself of this techno neurosis. What do you think I'm talking about? Here? Don't you think communism, which is materialist, is in direct opposition with your spiritual aspects of your vision? No, not at all. Who thinks Jokkull, veg, fatphobic? What are you talking about? That's just, you're getting a timeout. You're using naughty bathroom toilet language. People are going to be playing Minecraft in real life. Hard to believe, I know. Male bonding in nature is a replacement for war. Hunting and survival in nature, for instance, very tribal to survive together, just like fighting in war bonds males. Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for watching. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. We're keeping this short for all the people who complain about me making long videos. We did a podcast. We did a stream. We got like 42 live viewers at the peak. We got 16 likes. So if you like it, go on Twitter. I want to video interview you. If you're scared of video interviewing me, I have mercy on you. But don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to try to make your life better in any way that I can by connecting you with people who are similar to yourself. We're building a network. So you have to follow me on Twitter. You have to mention me on Twitter at Jokkull, Jokkull. We're going to get together. If you've already done all of that, like the video, even if you didn't watch it, share the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. These are good things to do. So I appreciate you guys. Until next time, I'm going to end the stream. Bye-bye.